The day I came home from a business trip, suitcase in hand, I couldn't get inside my own house. The key I'd carried for years wouldn't turn. The lock was new. At first, I thought maybe I was exhausted, maybe I'd confused my key with another. But no, the cold metal refused me, and then, through the bay window, I saw her, my sister, Jessica, barefoot, sipping wine on my couch like she owned the place. When I banged on the door, she opened it with a smirk. "Emily," she said casually. "Welcome back. I changed the locks. This is my house now." My jaw dropped. "Your house?" "I bought this house. With my money." She shrugged. "Family doesn't keep score. Besides, you travel so much for work, you don't even live here." I stared at her. At the audacity, the smugness, the betrayal. That was the moment I realized. This wasn't just about a lock. It was about every time Jessica had taken without asking. Every time my parents made excuses for her. Every time I swallowed my anger to keep the peace. But this time, she'd gone too far. Jessica had always been the wild one. Growing up in Michigan, she was the kid who broke curfew, crashed cars, maxed out credit cards. My parents smoothed it over every time. "Jess just needs time," Mom would say. "Emily, you're the responsible one," Dad would add. "You can handle yourself." So I handled myself. I studied, I worked 2 jobs, I built a career in marketing. I saved every dime for a down payment. When I finally bought my first home in Chicago at 27, I cried on the empty hardwood floors. It wasn't just a house, it was proof that I'd done it on my own. Jessica, meanwhile, bounced from boyfriend to boyfriend, job to job. She always landed on someone's couch. And every holiday, my parents compared us. Not out loud, but in glances. Jess was the free spirit. I was the responsible one. I didn't mind. Until responsibility became a leash they used to justify her chaos. Owning that house was everything. I filled it with light, cream walls, bookshelves lined with dog-eared novels, a kitchen that smelled of coffee every morning. It was mine. I built a life there. Even as my career took me on frequent trips, I'd lock up, fly out, and return to the comfort of knowing I had roots. Meanwhile, Jessica spiraled further. A failed boutique, a DUI, eviction notices. Each time my parents called me, "Couldn't you just help her a little, Emily?" And sometimes, guilt won. I paid her bail once. I covered a rent shortfall another time. But I swore, never again. So when I stood outside my own front door, key useless in my hand, I knew she'd crossed the line I'd drawn years ago. That night, I slept in a hotel, staring at the ceiling, fury burning in my chest. The next morning, I called Maya, my best friend since college. "She changed the locks?" Maya's voice crackled over speakerphone. "That's not just nerve, that's illegal." "I don't even know where to start," I admitted. "Start with a lawyer," Maya said. "And this time, don't let family guilt you out of what's yours." When I returned with Daniel Brooks, a real estate attorney, Jessica opened the door wearing my silk robe. Her grin faltered when she saw the man beside me. "Jessica Carter?" Daniel asked. "You are currently trespassing on private property owned solely by Emily Carter. That's a felony." Jessica scoffed. "You can't trespass in your own family's house." I stepped forward. "It's not your house, Jess. It's mine. The deed is in my name. The mortgage is in my name. You don't get to steal what I worked for." She folded her arms. "Mom and Dad said I could stay here." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Parental permission doesn't override legal ownership. If you don't vacate within 72 hours, we'll pursue criminal charges." Jessica's face drained of color. For once, her charm couldn't save her. 3 days later, when we returned with a locksmith and an officer, the house was empty. My robe hung discarded on the floor. A note sat on the counter. "You'll regret this." But as I walked through my rooms, reclaiming my space, regret was the last thing I felt. My parents called, furious. "Emily, how could you treat your sister like that?" Mom cried. I tightened my grip on the phone. "How could I let her steal my house? Do you even hear yourselves?" Dad sighed. "She just needed stability. You have so much already." That word again. Responsible. Stable. Safe. I realized then they weren't just enabling Jessica. They were exploiting me too. So I set my own conditions. "Listen carefully," I said. "If Jessica ever steps foot on my property again, I will press charges. If you want to keep defending her, that's your choice. But you will not drag me into her chaos anymore. I'm done being her safety net." Silence. Heavy. Unfamiliar. For the first time, they understood I meant it. Weeks passed. My house was mine again. I replaced the locks, this time with a security system only I controlled. Sometimes, when I walked past the bay window, I half expected to see Jessica there, curled up with a glass of stolen wine. But instead, I saw my reflection. Stronger, clearer, unapologetic. Maya came over one night with takeout. We sat cross-legged on the living room floor, laughing, candles flickering. "You look lighter," she said. "I feel lighter," I admitted. Because it wasn't just about a house. It was about boundaries. About finally stepping out of the role my family had written for me. The caretaker, the fixer, the one who always cleaned up Jessica's mess. Now, Jessica was on her own, and I was free. I ran my hand along the smooth paint of the wall, the one I'd chosen, the one I'd paid for. "My sister moved into my house without asking," I whispered. "But what she really did was move me into my strength."